Right, this moment has been a long time coming. It's taken me about a month to get here from the last video I shot. We're finally going to have a look and see if we can start this engine once and for all. Whoa, wait just a minute. We've got to take a step back and we've got to change the valves first. Let's go and have a look at that. Now the first thing we need to do is actually clean the valves that we've got. I've taken them out off camera. We just use a special tool, we'll see it later in the video, which compresses the valve and allows you to remove the clamps that hold them in. And it's important to make sure we keep them in the same order because the intake valves are slightly different from the exhaust valves. So what we do first, we actually just put the valve into a drill, and it gives us a nice rotation, and we can give it a bit of a clean with a Scotch-Brite, and it just takes some of the dirt off it and gives some nice clean valves. This is actually the bent one, so I'm just practicing on this first because it's the first time I've done it, so just to make sure I do it right. So if you see it wobbling around, that's why. You can already see the Scotch-Brite's had a good effect on it and it's looking a lot more silver and shiny than it was before. We just need to repeat this process for the other three valves. Scotch-Brite does a pretty good job on cleaning it up, but I think we can do a bit better. So what we're going to do now is wet sand it. The benefit of wet sanding versus dry sanding is it's just a little bit less abrasive than dry sanding. The water gives it a bit of a lubricant so we can get a better finish. Just starting off with a P80, just to get it nice and clean. You can already start to see the difference it makes. Look how silver that is. Once we've cleaned up all the valves, the next thing we need to do is lap them to make sure they're seated properly in the holes. What we need to do, we get some of this lapping paste and we can just rub it on the edge of the valve. So it's basically just a gritty paste, and what we can do, put the valve back in and then we just rotate it to actually dig in and clean. What we're looking for when we're doing this is that we have a nice clean ring around the edge of the valve, and that means it's seated perfectly. And that means we're just going to get a nice closure on the valve. We're not going to have any leaks or any compression issues. Now I did the rest of the valves off camera just to save a bit of time, and what we need to do now is just check that we've actually got a nicely seated valves.
So you could just put a bit of gasoline in here, which is cheaper. I'm using some WD-40. We just spray it in and just make sure it sits on all the valves when they're closed. We can see we're getting a bit of a leak still on one of the exhaust valves. That just means we can go back and recheck it and give it a bit more of a grinding. I actually found this a lot more difficult than most of the videos online will have you think. It was difficult to get the lapping tool to actually stick to the top of the valve. Maybe it's because of the size, I don't know. But I did discover there was quite a lot of grease from the paste on the valve, so just giving it a clean and the lapping tool a clean before going gives me a better suction. And now we can see we've got no leakage at all, so we've got a good seating. So now all the valves are cleaned and reseated, it's time to put them back together. So we can put the spring back in, put the little clips on, and then use the spring compression tool to pop it down and get everything back in nice and neatly. This would be so much easier if I had a sturdy work table and a vise. If anybody wants to send me one, I'd be happy to do a review. Next up, we can put the rocker arms back on. What we've done now is we've put two new valves in. We only needed one, but I bought a pair, so I thought I may as well put them both in. So we've got two new intake valves in there. We've got them lapped, so they are sealed. We've got it back in, we've got the rockers back on, and now we're just going to check the valve clearances, and then we can get this back on the bike and see if it works. Right, this moment has been a long time coming. It's taken me about a month to get here from the last video I shot. Once I changed the valves, I was putting everything back together, I had a couple of problems. So I dropped another bit in the engine, so I had to get some magnetic probes to get that back out.
I also managed to push in one of the pins on the cam rod behind the timing wheel, so I had to get another one of them ordered, which took a little while to come, but I finally, off camera, got everything back together. The engine's rebuilt, everything's back in. I'm pretty sure it should now work. So we've got it all back in here. You can see everything's connected up. I just need to put these back on. Batteries in, everything's back on now, so we're finally going to have a look and see if we can start this engine once and for all. Here we go. Oh, might have if I put the petrol tank back on. Okay, so we are actually leaking quite a lot of oil. I think the gasket is damaged how many times it's been on and off, so I'll fix that later, but it should be good just to give it a go. I think the battery is slightly flat. I probably should just charge it a bit, but I want to give it a go. So I have primed a couple of times the fuel, and let's see if we can get it started. It might need more battery power, but let's try. Okay, need more battery, but that was really close. I think we might have it. Give the battery a couple of hours to charge, and then we'll try again. Righty ho, it's time. We might be ready. Let's give it a go. First time. Idle's a bit low, but I can adjust that on the throttle. Okay. It's idling. We are dripping oil because I think the gasket's damaged from the amount of times I've had that cover off, so I need to get a new gasket on, but we seem to be burning a bit of oil but on the outside. But we are running! Woo!